In what has been a strong year for indie games, Jusant arrives just in time to be considered one of the best experiences of the year. You play as a lone wanderer who finds themselves at the base of a tall tower. It honestly looks like the wanderer has been on their journey for quite some time because the introductory cutscene shows them walking across what appears to be the ocean floor, but there's no water. This is the first mystery you come across in Jusant, and I think it's a great way to captivate the player. As you begin to progress up the tower, you're going to journey through sections that resemble small residential areas, and by the looks of it, it's as if people packed up what was necessary and left abruptly. There are a number of logs and journals lying around that give hints about where they could have gone, and they also detail how these individuals lived their lives. These residential areas are fairly detailed and they provide strong contextual clues about this lost civilization. There are also conches that you can discover in each of these areas, and they act as echoes and provide the player further insight into the civilization. Now, what's interesting about this tower is just how diverse the biomes are. This place is massive and stretches far above the clouds, and you're going to notice that as you make your way up, there are little to no signs of that civilization because there's just no way they would have survived these harsh conditions. It's fascinating how seamless the transitions are, by the way, when you're entering a new biome, when you enter these new chapters, because you're given these introductions, and those, by the way, can be breathtaking. I found myself in awe at times with what I was witnessing because the art style in Jusant is incredibly charming. There's this sense of scale that can be really daunting because you're just a lone wanderer traversing this massive structure. You're not alone though. You're joined by a creature known as Ballast, who looks to be made up entirely of water. Ballast is your trusty companion, and besides being a part of the overall mystery of Jusant, Ballast can reveal clues and utilize an echo ability that will force certain plants and wildlife to help you navigate the tower. You're never too sure about what Ballast is, but it is clear what their role is. They utilize their power to wake nature and bring life back to the tower. They're also good for photo opportunities because when you utilize Ballast's focus ability, they climb on top of your head to do so. It's a nice detail, and just look at them trying their hardest to help. I love it. Jusant is a unique puzzle adventure game because the central gameplay mechanic is climbing. The first hour is heavy in tutorials and you'll need them to acclimate to the game's controls. You grab onto handholds by holding one of the triggers and you alternate as you make your way up. Your stamina is limited, so make sure you rest often, and you do have the ability to jump to higher areas as you climb, but you must immediately remember to grab with the triggers because if you miss, you're going to cost yourself a nice chunk of stamina that you cannot recover unless you're on stable ground or at a conveniently placed checkpoint. As you progress, the game teaches you about the use and importance of pitons, your climbing spikes that become essential as you make your way to more difficult biomes. These will help save stamina, and more importantly, will catch you if you happen to make a mistake when you're ascending that area. You have 3 pitons in your inventory, and unless you're incredibly aggressive while scaling, you'll always have one left in case of an emergency. I wouldn't venture to say that Jusant is a difficult puzzle game because almost every area clearly identifies where you're supposed to go next. It's just a matter of utilizing everything you've learned to get to that area. Using your piton as a point to swing is useful and very fun, and when you're navigating a section and everything just flows, it can be an exhilarating experience, and it's pretty cool to see just how quickly you can ascend. When it comes to the most difficult sections in Jusant, these generally require patience and careful planning. It doesn't mean that you can't get creative in your climbing, but these are the most punishing sections in the game when it comes to missteps. I was generally careful in these longer sections, but there are a number of times where I found myself making difficult jumps and planting pitons as a small checkpoint to help ease the loss of stamina. Regardless, you're not restricted in how you play, and there are sections that implore experimentation with your mechanics. I think the reason I'm so high on Jusant is because of how it scales. Each biome represents a new challenge, and I think the best indie titles, or the best platforming games in general, as you progress through that game, the expectation is you're going to face new challenges and be introduced to new mechanics, and I think Jusant does a really good job of doing that. And the level layouts, by the way, are fantastic. These areas are very intricate, and you will find something new if you take the time out to explore. I didn't have any expectations going in, but this game just really caught me off guard with its quality. The visuals are great, and there are a number of areas that really shocked me in regard to its level of detail. The music in this game is fantastic. As you reach the final parts of a chapter, the music starts to build, and then it just slowly fades when a cutscene ends and you begin a new chapter. Really love that. I'm also very high on the final chapter. To put it simply, it's a beautiful end to a compelling journey. Now, Jusant is not without its shortcomings. I did run into a few technical hiccups, and the funniest was my character getting stuck on the geometry as I climbed. After a while, they just kind of stopped moving, and I thought this looked hilarious, but I was kind of frustrated thinking that I'd have to restart because I knew that if I did, it would put me near the bottom, and this was a particularly difficult climb. But I tapped jump a few times and they started moving again, which I was really thankful for. Overall though, the game is fairly polished, and that's appreciated given how many games today usually require massive patches to get their games to be playable. In the end, Jusant really ended up surprising me with its art style, environmental storytelling, and level scaling. It's a game that I thought about well after the credits rolled, and I can't recommend it enough. That's going to do it for this video. If you happen to like the content, please consider like, sharing, and subscribing. And if you happen to play Jusant, please tell me your thoughts on it. I'm Ken from Pixelated Thoughts, and I'll talk to you next time.